Well, I think it's safe to say that Jamal Murray is not washed. Jamal drops a double nickel on the Blazers. We'll talk about it on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being an everyday you're hanging out with us Monday through Friday, through the ups, the downs, and the double nickels. Ryan, are you old enough? You don't even know what I'm referring to when I say the double nickel, do you?
I do. Like it's 55. I'm 55. It's pretty easy, but I don't know what the reference is from.
Okay, so my name is Matt Moore. I'm senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I write 2 Substacks. We're going to talk about that a lot because I got a really big thing up on Christian Braun and Julian Strother over the Denver Dig. You should go check it out, thedenverdig.com. His name's Ryan Blackburn. He's over at Mile High Sports. Check out the Pick Action Roll podcast Monday through Friday and on the weekends too in your YouTube feed. Go support Ryan as well. So in the 90s, Jordan comes back from missing from the thing. He comes back mid-season from his deep love of baseball. And when he comes back, he plays in the Garden, and he drops 55 on the Knicks. And I think it was his second or third game back. Jeez. And Spike does a commercial. They do an Air Jordan commercial, and it's Spike Lee, and he's like him being gave my Knicks a double nickel. And so that's where that comes from. Jamal Murray dropped a double nickel on the Portland Trail Blazers 2 nights after being ejected. Man, the Canadian grit between these guys is absolutely amazing. Delano Banton talked that talk the other night, and Jamal Murray walked that walk tonight. As Murray goes, 55 points on 20 of 36, 55 on 36 shots with only 9 free throws, 7 of 15 from 3, 5 dimes, 2 steals, and a plus 26.
In a game they won by 11, Matt. Yeah. He was so clearly the difference tonight, and obviously that's the lead-in. That's the understatement of the year for a double nickel game. But he was unbelievable, and I couldn't believe how many times the Blazers decided to go under screens. The Blazers decided to double off of Murray. The Blazers decided, you know what? The guy that we tried to rile up and trash talk to in the previous game, we're going to leave him alone. We're going to see if he can beat us. And boy, did he went off, man. It was awesome to watch. And it's just such a great reminder that he's still got this in the bag. And that is a crazy, crazy number. 55 points. The vast majority of players do not ever score that in their entire NBA career. I don't know how many players have ever scored 55 in their careers before. And now he's done it. It's second time in his career that he's gone for 50 in the regular season. I think it's the 4th time in his NBA career that he's gone for 50 regular season and playoffs. When it rains, it pours with him. Blue Arrow, he came to play.
Him doing this on a night that I had to miss because my son had high school registration. I'm pretty now forever. I'm gonna have to be so where were you when Jamal had his career high? And I wasn't in the building. And he does it 2 nights after some person on this podcast said that they were no longer residents of the island.
Did we do a show yesterday? Did that air?
No.
I don't remember that actually. That was
surely not.
Surely not. The funny thing is, man, is we joke about the no jinx thing, right? We joke about it. Mm-hmm. Every time I give a take, every time I make a statement, every time I declare a position, the opposite is declared true. So if you're a Nuggets fan and you've noted that I am going to shave an eyebrow slit into my eyebrow when they go 40 over 20, it's going to happen. I already said that it's not going to happen, therefore it will. So this is just how it goes, man. I don't know this stupid cosmic reality that I am in where I'm being pinned up against a wall.
The protagonist of reality. By the way, DVR Sports and Jake Shapiro are both hanging out in the comments.
What's up, guys? Happy All-Star break.
All right. So when I was watching, the most impressive thing to me was that Jamal was able to get them. So the burst has been the thing that's been missing, right? Like he's just got no burst. We've said that over and over again. Like he just can't shake anybody. He can't get loose. And what we've seen, and like I've seen little bits and pieces of this because I've literally watched, I think I've watched 1,000 Nuggets half-court possessions this week for doing clip work.
You've been going off.
And like in that, you pick up some, and that's not to like brag, like that's the job. Like,
yeah.
But one of the things that's been notable is I'll be like, man, Jamal does have like a little bit of shake in these recent games. You look at the beginning of the season and you look now at how he was scoring and you're like, there's a jump there. But the biggest thing for me is that tonight he was able to get them. You mentioned them going under the screen, and every time they did that, he did fire the three and was able to knock it down. But then they started going over and he put him in jail. And I haven't seen Jamal get this loose by putting his defender in jail. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, when you're coming over off a pick and roll, or even you just blow by the guy, and you're able to get them behind you on your hip, when you slow down and they're bumped up against you, you get to control. Now you're in control of their momentum.
Yeah,
like you get to control. They can't just like chase down and block you because they're trying to stop, start, and then go again. And Jamal was able to get such great separation because there was one sequence he comes around the screen, puts the guy in jail, and then jumps to the left and pops the midi. And I was like, okay, I have not seen that in a minute. Like it's been a minute since I saw Jamal Murray pull that kind of move out. Absolutely phenomenal. He steals the inbound pass.
Yeah. Like the
he
dude's playing so hard right now, Matt. Like that's the thing that people don't fully realize. He cares so much about this right now, and him being able to do this on the last game before the All-Star break, that just shows the level of competitiveness that he has and why it was so freaking stupid for them to decide, you know what, we're gonna go at you. We're gonna talk. We're gonna do this thing, and they awoke something in him. It was crazy.
What did Malone have to say after the game about it?
I mean, the standard stuff of actually the most important thing that he said was anytime that a player has this kind of game, you're just so happy for him. You just care so much. And you know, he and Jamal have been tied together at the hip for basically their entire tenures here in Denver. Mm-hmm. Jamal came a year after he did, but ever since Jamal got into this building, Malone's been a fan of his. Malone has really backed him up on consistent times because they're wired the same way. They both hate to lose. They're both extremely competitive. And Jamal, like, people don't remember this. When he played 82 games in the regular season in his rookie year with a sports hernia. Like it's that kind of stuff that Malone remembers. It's the stuff, the development along the way, the willingness to give your all, how he's fighting through the knee injury nonstop. Malone loves to see that work pay off and to see these moments pay off for him. And he cares about it so much. It's really cool to watch that kind of pay off over the course of these past couple months. Jamal has really turned a corner here. And Malone also made sure to note that this season, kind of two different seasons, before December 8th and after December 8th, when they lost to the Washington Wizards. And I think that that's pretty notable. Went 11-10 into that game. And he mentioned Jamal's numbers after that moment. Elite.
I mean, I like to think that we sparked them because we called them out so much on that show.
That show was my favorite show to do on this podcast, because like it was true. It was true in that moment. And that team was a different team than they are right now. They have evolved and gotten better. And like they can be both squads. But it was very fascinating to see how much emphasis he put on that particular game and how much emphasis he's put on Jamal becoming better over the course of the season. I think everybody can see it clearly as day. He's just more agile. He is more physically ready. He talked about how he went into the weight room. He got into the weight room a little bit more, even during the season, and has really, he's his biggest critic, takes care of his body, trying to do his best to put himself into the best position to succeed and prove a lot of people wrong. So it's really cool. And I hate that I made that show yesterday.
I love it. I'm thinking about splicing together clips of you talking about how you're no longer on the island in between the clips of him. By the way, like if you get a chance, we're going to post it on the Twitter. if you get a chance to go listen to the noises that Chris Marlowe made during this game for Jamal Murray, please do so, because it was absolutely amazing. Chris Marlowe made just ridiculous noises as Jamal did this. Up on the other side, we'll talk about some of the other contributors. I've also got a stat that I want to share with Ryan about the Nuggets' overall standing on the season. We'll talk about Nikola Jokic, which, by the way, another triple-double. Christian Braun, big game, and another win for the Denver Nuggets. We'll talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. And you always find that decluttering and refreshing your space is going to help you get back into a routine. Well, whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. They've got free and hassle-free delivery, even for larger items. I got this when I got a stand-up desk a couple of years ago from Wayfair. It was a really high-quality desk. I use it all the time downstairs in my basement so that I can actually get a little bit of work done while not just sitting around all day. That's absolutely phenomenal. Their website is easy to navigate, and you're going to find everything you need in no time. They've got something for every style and every home. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We'll be right back. Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day. Make sure to check out LockedOnDaily.com for the Locked On Nuggets newsletter. I'll have the 6-piece up there on tonight's game to talk about Jamal Murray and a little bit more Jamal Murray, but we'll also give you a little bit of things about kind of what to expect this weekend. Is Julian Strother, by the way, selected to the Rising Stars game as a replacement. So good for Julian. Again, I wrote a lot about Julian. I have gone into the weeds on Julian's offensive game. I haven't done any of the defensive tape because I want to live in the good place. So Nikola Jokic, by the way, 26 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, 26 points on 20 shots, 0 of 3 tonight. That's going to pull down his percentage a little bit. 11 of 20. He enters the All-Star break as second in the MVP standings. There's going to be a straw poll on Friday. It's going to say Shea is ahead by a considerable margin, but I will just continue to tell you that Nikola Jokic is definitely still in the MVP race. And my ballot for the straw poll had Nikola Jokic number 1.
I'm not surprised. I think you being like close to this and seeing what he has done and just how magnanimous it has been and just how much he affects the game. It's not a surprise. I think that you have reflected that. I don't think it's a bias thing either. I just think that you've been on the ground here and see what it is and then having to live through what it is. With Shea, I mean, he's obviously tremendous, and they came back tonight against Miami. He continues to be fantastic. I don't think any Nuggets fan should be like thrilled to see that Shea wins an MVP if he does win an MVP over Jokic. But this is the one year, Nuggets fans, where you're like, okay, you don't have to get all of them. It is just funny that this is probably Joker's best season ever, and sometimes it doesn't work out the way that you're supposed to.
I just have a hard time. I just have a hard time with it. If we get to the end of the season and he's still where these standings are in terms of being third in points, second in assists, third in rebounds. If he does all of that and continues to shoot the efficiency, I don't know how you don't call this the best overall offensive season ever. I just don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. And I don't know how you don't give the MVP to that player if he wins above 50 games. Like, there has to be a limit here. And this is what I always kind of say, because somebody was arguing, like, I just think it should be based on performance. I don't think the win should matter at all. I'm like, okay, if you say that, then you have to open yourself. We'll talk about this next week, but you have to open yourself up to the possibility of somebody having the best offensive season in history and being under 500 and winning it. Do you want your MVP to be under 500? Because you have to open yourself up to that possibility.
I think I've heard some interesting takes from people that are willing to do that, just with the way that Jokic's numbers are, and if the impact numbers are still there, where he's like a plus 10 net rating with them on the floor, and they're a minus 25 with them off.
That's you know how I feel about the off courts, but that's the other problem here is like Shea wins by more when he's on the court. That to me is the best argument for this, which is like Shea contributes on the defensive end, they win by more. And if you're like, yeah, but Shea's not the best defender, absolutely, that's absolutely true. Shea is much closer to the best defender than Jokic is. Yeah, we'll talk about this next week. Christian Braun tonight, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block.
Matt, he played 45 minutes. He sat for 3 minutes in the first half of the Michael Malone just decided, you know what? You're getting a break next week. I'm playing you all the way through.
yeah. Young pup gets to run the gauntlet. with them being shorthanded. Again, just plugging my own stuff here. I wanted to kind of comment on this and share it. I'm going to probably drop the link in the YouTube description as well. The reason that I actually really want people to focus on is I've been not hard on Christian. I've been hard on the decision to start Christian because losing KCP, I've talked about like, look, their defense is worse. It just is. They need the ability to have KCP and Christian Braun. But I got to be real clear on this. Like Christian's been so much better than KCP, just been offensively. He's been so much better. And that makes him a net overall so much better because the defense isn't that far apart. He's been absolutely sensational and he is such a tough finisher. And I asked him about it and like tried to squeeze some quotes about it from him. So got stuff on that over at the Denver Dig. So, but phenomenal night for him. How about Zeke Naji with 7 stocks tonight?
He was crazy. I think I see 6 in the box score right now, but like
3 steals, 4 blocks on mine, buddy.
Oh, well, okay. Let me just go refresh that real quick. Oh, yeah, it does. They gave him another steal. Holy cow, 7 stocks in 37 minutes. Talk about, like, taking advantage of the opportunity when you get it, right? Like, he has not had any opportunities, and probably rightly so, over the course of the first 45 games of the season. And then you get some injuries, and you try to boost trade value and things like that. That doesn't work out, but the trade deadline passes, and you still play because there are still some injuries that you have to play and fill in for. And it's not like the Portland Trail Blazers were throwing out their A lineup, and that's part of the reason why. But Zeke played 37 minutes. He, like, prior to the first 40 games of the season, you'd be hard pressed to tell me that he played 37 real minutes, like in those entire 40. So, like, the fact that he was able to play in a game like this and be successful and fill in and do the right things, it does give some credence to the argument that I had previously made upon Zeke's behalf, that playing with Jokic does matter, that playing those minutes and playing next to him does matter. You don't always get the benefit of, like, you're not gifted it, and you can't develop everybody. You've talked about this before. You can't develop everybody. Those minutes are sacred. You have to make sure. But there's also something to the fact, like, the reason why the non-Jokic minutes are so much better this year is because they've staggered some starters. They've staggered more guys, and they've been willing and able to do that. So maybe Zeke has some game that they can go to. I don't know.
But my problem with that is once you start going down that road of like, well, yeah, no, he's good. You just got to play him with Jokic.
Good is a different. That's different. That's different. I would say playable.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is if you play Dario Saric next to Nikola Jokic, what do you think his plus minus is going to look like?
Worse, because he doesn't have a skill set that fits next to that. Like,
I disagree. I disagree hardcore on that.
Dario can't defend in space. At least with Zeke, you know you're going to get some spacing. And Zeke has some
Zeke had a 111 defensive rating last night. That was really good.
Yeah, like, and he had 7 stocks today. So, like, what are we doing here? I think that
but hang on. You can't. What are we doing here? Have you looked at this? We've looked at the season-long defensive numbers. It can't be like that. You can't be like, well, obviously, just because he's younger and Dario Saric is over 30, therefore he's not.
I think that Zeke is more mobile. I think that Zeke, his shot is certainly looking better right now. And I think that there's a reason to believe that he will be more successful at power forward.
My only thing,
Dario will.
I disagree. I think that's one of the problems is Dario trying to play at 5. I think my only point here is that the positives and negatives, like everyone's going to look better next to Joker. Like we can't use that. Like you just can't. You can't be like, well, no, see, and like, yes, it was next to Joker, but no, like that's it. Like that's the entirety there is like you play next to Joker, you're a positive. And if who has ever not been a positive next to Joker?
We know the guy. You could say him on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Emmanuel Mudiay. Yeah. But like, look, I understand what you're trying to say. I understand that. I do. I think I value the ability to move the feet a lot more than you do. And Zeke just has consistently shown that is one of his skills. He's shown the ability to switch, shown the ability to guard. And that at least, like, you fit that skill set around what Joker does, and it makes sense.
I get that. Yeah, so Zeke 111.3, Jamal 105.5 defensive rating tonight, by the way. They play really great in his minutes tonight.
Holy cow. He, again, plus 26 in 42 minutes. That means in the 6 minutes he sat, they were minus 15.
Yeah, DJ with a 92.6 defensive rating. Oh, look at that. Dario Saric with an even better defensive rating than Zeke. So as we move along, we're going to go on the other side, and I want to talk a little bit more about wrapping up with this Jamal night. Like, what is, do we think this means anything? Is it just something to celebrate and kind of put a bow on the pre-All-Star Denver Nuggets season? We'll talk about that up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Run it back. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Wow, Dario Saric was a plus 27.8 net rating tonight.
I'm going to kill you.
That was the best on the team. They were literally at their best.
He did play with Nikola tonight too. That's good for him.
See? That's my only point. I will say one thing though. I will say this game got close in the fourth quarter, and you were kind of talking about some of the laziness on some of the possessions. I think these games are important because of how well they have executed, and they're continuing to win, and they're not dragging themselves to it. Like these are wins where they've led wire to wire. They're winning at home, which Malone was very insistent on. They need to get back to winning at home. Their division wins. This is the triple threat for me, right? It's a bad team at home in the division. So these are two high quality wins from where I sit.
Agreed.
That said, Portland's defense for being the best in the league over however many games that was.
It's a tire fire.
Smoke and mirrors got just
Holy
completely.
cow.
And maybe they come out of the All-Star break and they're back to normal. Maybe they just, and they were really shorthanded tonight. Like it was no Scoot, no Ayton. Like Ayton's actually been really good for them. So for them to be without those guys, but on the other hand, it's like no Mike, no Aaron, no Peyton.
So they were trying to junk up their defense a lot of the time. They started Tumani Camera on Jokic and played him basically on him for the entire time Camera was out there and Jokic was out there. It was very interesting. And so good experience for him, obviously. They tried something different because what they had done previously when they gave up 146 wasn't working. So can understand why they tried some things. Trying to protect Klingon as much as possible. It helped Klingon stay on the floor, and he did some really good things too. Like 20 rebounds, including 10 offensive rebounds for Klingon. But because of the way that they were playing, they were just scrambling so much. And like they were working hard, but the Blazers just don't have, like you said, they don't have the horses to be able to do that final game before the All-Star break when they're trying to do it shorthanded.
So basically, let me know in the comments. We passed 9,000 subscribers on youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. We're at 9,015, buddy.
Thank you, everybody. I saw it pass with the previous show that we did on the island. So big stuff.
We need 85 more for 10. Or not 85. We need 985 more for 10K. That's amazing.
That's it.
That's awesome.
We can do that. We can do that.
We can do this. We can build on this. So
thank you, everybody.
The stat I wanted to share with you is, as of tonight, the Denver Nuggets have climbed to the number 2 offense in the NBA schedule adjusted to dunks and threes. Man. They are at a 119.3, surpassing the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. They are 1.5 points per 100 possessions behind the number 1 team, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's a big deal. People will, given the defensive struggles, people are going to minimize that. They'll say, oh yeah, Denver's just a one-sided team. There are going to be matchups, especially in the playoffs, where teams just can't stop Denver. They're just not going to be able to slow them down on a consistent basis. And Denver has shown the ability to ramp the other side up when they need to. Maybe not to peak levels like how they've been before, but they can still do solid stuff.
So we'll challenge that a little bit. I've talked about the explosiveness. We've seen a little bit more of the runs during this stretch of games. Because that was one of the things that I really missed was they don't go on these killer runs anymore. They just kind of separate and then slowly eke it out. And they've gone on more runs where it's these dominant pushes of 27-13. They've gone on really good runs, in part because their transition offense has been so good. Now in the half court, that's more important for playoffs, but they're elite there too. I don't have any doubts about them.
Yeah, they're second in half court offensive rating on.
And it was funny.
Clean the glass.
So last year, I made a big deal because I was I'm not worried about Denver's offense at all. But Celtics fans have jumped down my throat about this because I said, I was are you really worried about the Nuggets offense in the playoffs? And then they lost to Minnesota. And one of the things I was kind of thinking about when talking to Swipa today, when we were in our group chat, was talking about the idea of look, and I honestly think Malone is in a better place to do this. He's always going to want them to defend. He's always going to be like, you can't just not defend. You're not going to be able to win a game. The difference is you can't win a game by not playing good defense.
Yeah.
You can just also not win a game by playing great defense. Also notable, as they are the number 2 team, they are also number 5 in overall net rating. They've surpassed several other teams to jump to number 5 in net rating. And Ryan, they're up to 18th in defensive rating. Now, they're not going to get anywhere near the nonsense that you said that they would after All-Star break. But
I don't know about that.
But
I don't know.
Why?
Well, I think what you're going to see in this post All-Star break stretch is they're really going to try to go for a post All-Star break with some of the teams that they're facing. They're going to face a lot of playoff teams. I think Michael Malone's going to use that as an opportunity to be like, all right, this is our playoff tune-up. We need to lock in defensively during this stretch. We think that the best way for us to get ourselves ready is to find times for playing elite defense on a consistent basis. Christian Braun's talked about that. Aaron Gordon's talked about that. Jamal Murray talked about it tonight. So I think everybody knows heading into the All-Star break, it's easy to kind of let the rope go on that end of the floor, and understandably so. But I do think that out of the All-Star break, that's going to be a big point of emphasis. And I do think that they will get that done. I honestly think that they're going to be top 12 defense post All-Star break.
Okay, if they don't, I want you to shave the other eyebrow slit. That sounds fair. That seems fair.
Okay.
Other eyebrow slit if they do not get top 12 defense after the All-Star break.
Okay, that's there's no buffer there. If they get 13th, then
exactly
that feels tough.
Exactly. Well, back up your opinions, young man. Come on.
Believe me, every time I do this, I am wrong. So I'm trying to protect myself here.
Yeah, you should probably not agree to that. But by the way, I did want to mention the Nuggets were 18th in schedule adjusted defense in 2023. That's when they won the title. Going back to Jamal, the array of shots that he hit. I also particularly loved him following his own 3-pointer and getting the floater.
Yeah.
I'm going to show my wife that because she's an obsessive about follow your own shot, which I'm like, if you do that in the NBA, you're going to get killed. Nice. Like you will just get run on obsessively. And she's like, but you should follow your shot. I'm like, no, you should get the back on defense. Like you should no. But in that case, it's totally fine because Jamal made a read and he was right and he got a good floater out of it. He was slithery, like the first one, but the Blazers should have known on the first score that he had the twisting reverse layup. They should have known like right there. Hey, we should probably double. Like we might want to blitz Jamal tonight. And the Blazers messed around and found it. I'm sorry, because it was Delano Banton. They messed around and found Oot.
Found Oot, yes. Jamal was talking about how they grew up 40 minutes apart from each other. Or Delano, he grew up 40 minutes away, 40-minute drive away from where Jamal grew up. And that's interesting to me because he said that there's no hate there. There's nothing like that. It's just a friendly rivalry kind of thing. Yeah. They got each other talking. They understand. They know who the other Canadians are in the league. Things like that.
The thing is, the only person I think it is personal with is Dylan. Yeah, and Dylan, and this is kind of why I like Dylan. Dylan's like me, where people are like, no, we're friends. Okay, I hate him a little, but we're good. No, Dylan's a good dude, but also, God, I hate him.
Yeah. I mean, he does really there is a place in this league for the Dylan Brookses. Absolutely. And that's somebody that the league should continue to try to hype up is hey, you don't always have to be just a scorer. You don't always have to be friends with everybody.
Hurricane says that they finished top 12. You should make me grow hair.
I wasn't going to throw that up on the screen, but you did. So thank you.
Damn. Cold world. All right.
Cold world. This give me your before we get out of here, I want you to give me your thoughts. We could do this again soon. Pre-All-Star break, how things have gone for this team and what they based expectations versus reality for how you thought this would go.
They're better than I thought they'd be right now.
Interesting.
And I just think it's really, I always think it's so funny how different game by game feels than the macro in the NBA. Like our shows every night are like, they need another defender. This isn't good enough. I'm still really worried about this. They haven't shown championship habits. Like Jamal looks like and they're legitimate concerns. Like these are not, this is not nonsense. But when you look at a team like the Bucks, or you look at a team like the Sixers, or you look at a team like the Magic, who have had so many injuries, but I can't even say that Denver's been healthy.
Yeah.
Like Denver's been missing Aaron Gordon for much of the year. They've missed Jamal for a third of the year. And for them to still be here, to be top 3 in the West, to have a legit shot at 2, to have the number 2 offense, to have made the progress that they have, and to have responded from that start the way that they did. And this is like what it is a product of. We cover them, and the sense around them is how much they do not enjoy November basketball. They don't. This team they're chasing a championship. They do not enjoy October, November basketball. It's just the work that you do coming in every day to put yourself in a position for times like this.
Yeah.
And they're really good at this stretch of year. They're good in January and they're good in February.
Yes.
My question, and this gets back to our last show that we did today, early this morning, is like, are they going to be able to restrain themselves and be like, it's okay if we finish 3rd. It's okay if we finish 4th. We got to get everybody healthy, because when Jamal's in a good spot, he can do this. Like, this is who he is when he's in a good spot. You got to do everything you can to get him in a good spot, to get Aaron in a good spot, to get Mike in a good spot. The Joker will just play because he's not human. He's just not a human person. So, but that's how I feel about it right now. They're better than I thought they would be right now.
I think that, like you talked about, October, November basketball is not their thing. I think I go an even bigger step than that, and I'd say that game 1, they did not appear ready for the season. And you remember how the preseason kind of led up to that, the Abu Dhabi trip, and we were thinking like, oh crap, this does not look good. Like there's some fall apart potential here. Was something that I said. And I remember back to that moment, and I remember watching them on opening night and the game that they played against the Clippers the next night, where they could not score the basketball against the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a big deal to see them make that progress from game 1 to where they are right now. And it gives you hope that look, they may not win the championship. They probably won't win the championship, but I think they're capable. I think they've proven that through this time. I think that they've shown that their ceiling is still there. I'm not sure if the floor is entirely there still, but the ceiling is certainly still there.
Grace wants to know how many different teams the Nuggets have been this year. That's a great topic for next week on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Friday. Taking off This is Thursday's show. We'll take off on Thursday. We'll be back on Friday. I'll do a solo show and take some questions. Hit me up on Twitter or hit me up on any sort of various platform. Let me know what you want me to talk about, and we'll cover a lot of questions on Friday heading into the All-Star break. You guys have yourselves a great week. We'll see you again next time. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets. 55.
Eyebrow.
Gave those Blazers a double nickel.